So with Conor McGregor pulling out of UFC 303 with an injury, in steps Alex Pereira to defend his light heavyweight title against Jiri Prochazka in the rematch on just 2 weeks' notice. And I'm a little worried for Alex Pereira. When this fight was announced a couple days ago, I was thinking, okay, I'm probably going to go Alex Pereira. I don't see how this can go any differently from their first fight. I think it's going to be more of the same. You have the leg kicks of Alex Pereira versus the leg checking defense, or the lack thereof, of Jiri Prochazka. He does not check leg kicks. He was getting his legs absolutely brutalized in his last fight at UFC 300 by Alexander Rakic. And I was just thinking, this is going to be more of the same that we saw in their first fight, with Alex Pereira winning by KO once again. But then I started thinking. I went back and watched that fight, and as much as I remembered Alex Pereira knocking out Jiri Prochazka and finishing him with elbows in a controversial stoppage while Yuri's in on a double leg, I didn't have a problem with the stoppage, but, that's besides the point. As much as I remember that, Jiri Prochazka had a lot of success in that fight. A lot more than I remember. Yuri's landing. He's walking down Pereira. He has Pereira on the back foot, and we don't see that a lot with Pereira. Jiri is walking down Alex Pereira, and he's putting Alex against the cage. We don't see Alex on the back foot in any of his fights, really. Most of the time, he's the aggressor. He's walking you down. He's putting the pressure on you. He's getting you against the cage. Jiri was putting Alex against the cage, and he was landing clean shots on Alex. Now, Alex has a good chin, a much better chin than he had at middleweight. The weight cut isn't draining him nearly as bad. It's still a big weight cut, but, if it's a big cut at light heavyweight, just imagine what he was going through to make 185. But he was eating those shots, but Jiri was landing, and he was walking down Pereira, and he was putting him against the cage, and he did get a takedown in round one. And I just started thinking, what if Alex Pereira doesn't land that shot that drops Jiri? What if he doesn't find that shot? What if that fight keeps going and it goes into rounds 3 and rounds 4 and rounds 5? Does Alex Pereira win that fight? And that's where it gets tricky, because Jiri Prochazka is a very tough individual. He brought that win back from the depths against Alexander Rakic. He was getting absolutely picked apart, destroyed on the feet against Alexander Rakic at UFC 300. And he came back and TKO'd him in round 2. And there's a glaring issue that everyone is well aware of with the UFC as of late. Ever since these new gloves have been introduced, we haven't seen very many knockouts in these past events. Now, I will say, I don't think this is a glove issue. I do think it's partly a glove issue, but we also haven't seen very many power punchers and knockout artists with these gloves on. So I really don't think it's going to be a factor, but I had to mention it just because, maybe it is. The only KOs I remember with the gloves, the new gloves, are Dominic Reyes and Zach Reese. That's KOs with punches. There's been multiple kick KOs and whatever, knees. But the only KOs with punches with the new gloves that I can recall are Dominic Reyes and Zach Reese. And that's something to mention in this fight, where Alex Pereira, in all honesty, he could need a knockout to beat Jiri Prochazka. Because I do feel like as this fight goes into the later rounds, I think Jiri Prochazka has the advantage. And it's not like Alex Pereira has awful cardio. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying he's going to gas out and Yuri's going to just destroy him or something. We saw in the first fight, Jiri Prochazka had much more success in round 2 than he did in round 1. Round 1 was pretty convincing for Alex Pereira. Jiri Prochazka did land the takedown, and I think that's going to be a big key for Jiri Prochazka in this fight. I think he has to get the takedowns early, and he has to keep him down or get him down often. He has to wear down Alex Pereira a little bit in these early rounds. Because I will say, I'm not saying Alex Pereira was gassed out after one round with barely any grappling, but you go into round 2 and Prochazka's landing a little bit more. Pereira is not looking as defensively sound as he is in round 1. And with the fight style of Prochazka, walking you down with these weird angles, these unorthodox angles, unorthodox strikes, he can catch you off guard. It's just hard to fight a guy like Jiri Prochazka, especially when you're getting into these later rounds and you're a little more gassed, you're a little more tired. It's harder to see these things coming. You're not as sharp. And if Jiri Prochazka is walking you down like he is in your first fight, especially in round 2, he's given a lot more forward pressure in round 2, but he was also walking him down in round 1. I just think it's going to be hard for Alex Pereira to win a decision here with Jiri Prochazka putting you on the back foot. I think Jiri is going to have more volume in the later rounds if it gets there. Yuri's going to be the one on the front foot. He's going to be the one getting you against the cage, and he's going to be the one landing. I think Alex Pereira, if he wins this fight, he has to finish Jiri Prochazka like he did in their first fight. And I don't want to say the first fight was a fluke, because it's not. Alex Pereira is a very powerful individual. We all know this. This is not a secret. Alex Pereira hits like a Mack truck. Very strong guy. But Jiri Prochazka is one of the toughest people on the planet. If anyone is going to survive Alex Pereira's biggest shots, it is Jiri Prochazka. And I just think if he survives Alex Pereira and he's able to wear him down a little bit, I think, just in my opinion, I think if anyone is going to win a decision in this fight, I think it's Jiri Prochazka. I don't see Alex Pereira winning a decision over Jiri Prochazka. I just don't see a path where that's possible. I mean, Alex Pereira was brutalizing the legs of Jiri Prochazka in the first fight, and he was still walking him down. He was still putting Alex against the cage. He was still putting him on the back foot. He was still being the aggressor with that brutally damaged leg. So I'm just worried that Alex Pereira will not find that kill shot that he found in the first fight. And I'm worried this fight gets into the later rounds. I'm worried this fight gets into round 4, round 5. And I'm worried that Jiri Prochazka can find the shot on Alex Pereira and win this fight by KO or TKO. He was landing big shots on Alex Pereira. In that second round, the round where he got finished, ultimately, he was landing big shots around the guard of Alex Pereira. He would have Pereira against the cage, and he was landing bombs. And I start to wonder, what if Alex Pereira never lands that shot? What if Prochazka, after landing those big shots against the cage on Pereira, what if he shoots a double leg and gets him down again, holds him there for the rest of the round, wears on that gas tank a little bit more? Then we go into round 3. Pereira's a little bit more tired. The footwork isn't all there. And Prochazka's still keeping that pressure on. He's still walking him down. What happens? How does that go? And also, this being a rematch, I think only favors more towards Jiri Prochazka. You know, when you're going into a rematch, you kind of learn a little bit more because of the first fight. Through that first fight, you learn more about your opponent. It's common sense, right? You're going to be more prepared to fight the same guy if you were to fight him again. Jiri Prochazka is going to have been in there with Alex Pereira. He's going to understand the range, the footwork, the setups of Alex Pereira. He's going to be familiar with all that. Well, you can say the same thing for Alex Pereira. He was in there with Jiri Prochazka. He's going to be prepared. But the difference is, Jiri Prochazka, he's so unorthodox and he's so creative. You can't really be prepared for anything. You know, he's so random. Alex Pereira is just a super technical kickboxer with elite power. You know, he's super technical. You can figure out a lot about him in a fight when you're in the cage with him. When you're in the cage with Jiri Prochazka, after you're done, you could fight him again, and it's a completely different experience. You know, he's got these unorthodox angles, these setups, these strikes. You can't really learn anything from a fight with Jiri Prochazka other than you don't know what to expect. So I think this being a rematch also plays into Yuri's hand. He's going to be more prepared than Pereira will. I think he'll have the advantage there because he knows what to expect, and Pereira still doesn't know what to expect from Jiri Prochazka. And that's why I'm worried about this fight for Pereira. I was leaning towards Pereira to win this fight when it was first announced. But then I went back and rewatched their first fight, and now I'm thinking I might go with Jiri Prochazka to get it done. But either way, Alex Pereira is becoming, if he's not already, the face of the UFC. I think once Conor McGregor is officially retired and there's no more fight announcements, no more fighting Chandler, none of this, when he's officially gone, Alex Pereira, I think, is the biggest star in the UFC. I think he's up there. Super active champion, super exciting, and you got to respect him for putting his title on the line on 2 weeks' notice to save an event. Huge respect to Alex Pereira. But the more I think about it, the more I think that he's going to lose his title in 2 weeks. But let me know what you guys think. Do you think Alex Pereira is going to KO Jiri Prochazka again? Do you think Yuri's going to find the finish? Do you think Alex Pereira can win a decision against Jiri Prochazka? Do you just disagree with me completely? Let me know what you think. I'm interested to hear, and I can't wait to watch this one.